Hello everyone, it's Silvia from Yokai Tarot. Welcome back to my channel. I am so very excited today because two tarot decks that were possibly my most anticipated mass market tarot decks of 2024 have finally arrived. So these two decks, especially one of them, I've actually pre-ordered something like 6-7 months ago, ever since I have known about its upcoming release. However, this release was meant to be done back at the end of September, then it was pushed to October, then it was pushed to November, and I was this close to actually deleting the pre-order. But then I received a shipping notification. I was like, okay, well, fine. I'm happy that it's finally coming home. So if you have watched my channel for any length of time, you will know that I am really passionate about something, and it's a culture coming from a country that is really close to my heart. And this passion of mine has not started with tarot decks. It started many years ago, and I would say it's embracing the whole of the culture of this country, whether it's literature related, even lore, folklore related, or food related. It's something that I have always admired. I've been to this country 4 times. I want to go back. It is an absolutely amazing place to visit, and my fascination with its culture comes from the fact that there is a very strong connection with the spirit world, and you'll probably know by now what tarot deck I'm talking about. Not much further ado, let me just open the box. Okay, here we go. So it is a really odd kind of packaging, but I'm not complaining. It's finally arrived, so I'm not complaining. I don't know if you can see which decks these are. Let me just be quick and open this up. And ladies and gentlemen, we are now looking at the spirit box, the Voodoo Tarot spirit box, and the Yokai Tarot. So this one is a very well-known artist. It's Fabio Listrani, and you will have heard about Fabio's decks because one of them is, for example, the Santa Muerte Tarot, or also the Santa Muerte Oracle, but he's also the creator and illustrator of the Goetia Tarot in Darkness and the Notoria Tarot in Light. And also another one which is called the Night Sun Tarot or something similar. I have been really anticipating this deck for such a long time. I do follow Fabio's Instagram account, and he has been sharing some of the cards that belong to this deck for months now. And so as soon as I knew that the possibility was there for me to put a pre-order in, I did. And at the same time, I put a pre-order in for the Yokai Tarot, the deck of Japanese folklore by Marga Biazzi and Paolo Bertazzo. So these both are decks released by Lo Scarabeo. They even sent me a thank you note. Okay, you're welcome. I'm really excited about both of them. Now, this is an unboxing. You saw the box, it was still wrapped. These are still wrapped in shrink wrap. And when it comes to unboxing, I don't go deep into a deck simply because I think that we all have busy lives and we have a limited amount of time to watch these kind of videos, and therefore I don't necessarily think that it's the right place for me to go deep into a deck. I do, let's say, go deep on a deck on my own time, and then when I start using it and I start feeling like I have a bond with the deck, then I will talk about that deck in specifics, whether it's because of pairings that I'm doing or for other purposes. I will then share that on my channel. However, there is no two identical ways of doing an unboxing, not just between tarot tubers, but within the same tarot tubers videos themselves, because sometimes I feel like I'm attracted to perhaps the aesthetics of the cards, or perhaps I'm attracted by the guidebook, or perhaps I'm attracted by any other thing, the vibes, the energies of the decks. And so I strongly believe that you do you, obviously, and I will do whatever feels like it makes me the happiest when bonding, when I have literally the first impression of a deck, and that would just, you know, take its time, and the bonding will come later. So let's start with this one. So the Voodoo Tarot Spirit Box by Fabio Listrani. It's a rather large box, as you can see. It's a wraparound magnetic one. I have to say the difference in price was not noticeable, but then again, I did place the pre-order such a long time ago. Honestly, I don't even remember. And there may have been a discount. I don't know whether this deck is now selling for probably $80-90, because that's what will happen on Amazon Australia. Nowadays they're pricing anticipated decks in the high 70s, if not even 80s or 90s in some cases, especially when they look like a luxurious product like this one. So this one, you will see it's got some really glossy insert on the front of the box. Really beautiful deep red. The title on the side is also embossed and glossy. When it comes to the back of the box, we've got a few cards here. Then we got, again, these glossy spots for the title. And then it's got a little bit of a description. So it says, delve deep into the mesmerizing world of voodoo with this special kit edition containing a themed tarot deck and a detailed book. Born into the New World as an offshoot and mix of ancient African indigenous beliefs and Abrahamic religions, voodoo, also known as voodoo or voodoo, is a rich, multifaceted tradition that employs natural and supernatural elements to affect its human experience. With an extensive repertoire of magical practices to heal ailments, ward off malevolent spirits, and seek favor from the deities known as Loa, voodoo represents a unique and fascinating example of religious syncretism. I love that they've been very clear about that without being overly complicated. That helps no one. In this new incredible tarot kit, Fabio Listrani explores these rituals with 78 fully illustrated cards, complemented by a detailed 192-page book in full color to further investigate this fascinating tradition. I'm very happy about the description, because I have to say sometimes when people want to overly explain voodoo, they just start talking about complicated stuff, and if someone is a beginner, they will be put off. Wow, oh my goodness, look at this inside of the box. Isn't it just amazing? I really love these doodles, mostly skeletons and skulls and esoteric symbols. Really interesting. Reminds me a little bit of the busyness of the artwork of Keith Haring, which I really love. And not that this is done by Keith Haring. I expect that this is probably also by Fabio Listrani. He's a very eclectic and prolific kind of author, as an illustrator as well. Love these three skulls, by the way. You will notice that it does have a very specific kind of art style that is it goes from the daring to the seductive, but I actually really appreciate it. I would love to have the Goetia, but for some reason I think it's actually a bit too dark, not in the sense of the vibes or the energy, but simply the color or the white balance of the cards is a bit too dark for my eyes, and I cannot actually vouch for that, because I've never even had that in my hands. So I'm just waiting to see if I find a place where they sell that deck and they let me see the cards first, and then I will decide. But I am absolutely really happy about this one anyway. And may I just say, the insert here, the cardboard, looks really, really sturdy. There has been absolutely no moving around of the deck, and I can feel it here because you feel kind of stuck. That is good news, because otherwise you will notice there's always a bit of a tear at the top or the bottom or both. Really looks like a chunky monkey of a guidebook. It does come with edged pages, so in different colors, which is very helpful, because I assume these are dividing, let's say, the minors. So I'm expecting green to be pentacles, coins, yes, yellow to be swords, yep, and blue to be water or cups, yeah, and fire or wands, yes, and these ones are obviously the majors. Now, I did see from some of the sneak peeks that the major, or at least some of the majors, the ones that I've seen, have been renamed. Okay, so let's have a look at the table of contents. Preface, Voodoo, Major Arcana, Minor Arcana, how to read. It's pretty much everything we're used to when it comes to the table of contents. I'm pretty happy about that. It's not like I'm not buying this deck because of the guidebook. Sometimes I do, like in the Tarot Vampires by Ian Daniels. I knew that the art style was not one of my favorite, but I also knew that I really wanted that guidebook. So it is something that, you know, we do whatever makes us feel happy. Okay, preface. Again, as you will see, I'm not going to read the preface right now. This is literally an unboxing. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to go through the pages. So it talks about, obviously it talks about voodoo a little bit here. And then it starts with the major arcana, which is awesome. So as I said, because I was lucky enough to see some preview of the cards, thanks to Fabio's posts on Instagram, I was able to realize that many of the major arcanas at least have been renamed, and it will be a really interesting adventure in studying these characters, because obviously some of them I will recognize. I do have a basic knowledge of voodoo. I have been visiting all of the countries in Central America, and I've been to Mexico a few times, and then I've been visiting several countries in South America, but I've also been to Cuba, for example. One dear friend of mine, she actually introduced me to a santero, so I've been also had the opportunity to witness with my own eyes what a santero can do. But also, for example, part of my mom's family moved to Argentina after the Second World War, and we kept in touch with that part of the family. So I feel very much like my roots are not just Italian, but literally half of my family is from South America. So there's a lot of things that I know, many more that I don't know. So I'm keeping an open mind, and I'm very excited about being able to learn even more about these fascinating characters. And so I'm not going to go through all of the guidebook, because I feel that that will spoil my experience in seeing the cards. But I just wanted to show you that there is a fair bit when it comes to the description of the cards and the character that is portrayed in each particular card. And then we do have keywords for the positive and negative. It's called positive and negative as opposed to upright and reversed. Which is very interesting. Obviously, that is not necessarily the way that I read reversals. I don't think of reversals as necessarily something negative. It could be part of the reversals, but it could also not be. And then we do, so it looks like we have the same amount of information when it comes to the minors and not just the majors, which always makes me happy. And sorry, I just happened to turn the page and it was the Three of Swords. I didn't do it on purpose, but I do always pay attention to the way in which the Three of Swords is portrayed in a deck. And in this case, I'm very happy to say that it's not a pierced heart. So it is a pierced skull, so it is something that it is similar. It looks like there is a renaming of the code card. So we got the doll, the mambo, the ongang, and the horse. So that would be interesting as well. I'm always open to the possibilities of adding new layers of interpretation to the way in which I myself read tarot. So let me just see at the back of the guidebook here. It says how to read tarot, fair enough. Reading of the Metet. Yeah, it talks about the tradition of the Metet from the French maître-tête, meaning masterhead. So it's very interesting how much of the French culture has been absorbed because of the roots of the voodoo, because of the areas where it was developed, obviously. And then we do have a spread. I literally wanted to double check whether there was at least one spread that was dedicated to this deck, and I'm very happy to say that there is. And then below the complete web related to the law that have been included into the cards. So these are symbols, or let's say very similar to the concept of sigils. And that'd be very interesting to find these on the cards as well. Obviously, we're only talking about a few cards. I think it's mostly major arcanas, and then there's the Ongan of Wands as well, and that's it. And then bibliography, which is actually there's a typo here, fair enough. YouTube videos as well. There are my Divine Horsemen, The Living Gods of Haiti, Centro Studi e Ricerche Siti Voodoo Documentario Introduzione 2022, La Società dello Zolfo, Il Vodum Tradizionale del Benin. See, it's really interesting that nowadays you can find in the bibliography, you can find also YouTube videos. I think that is absolutely amazing. And I'll definitely make sure to check these videos myself as well. And then the biography also about Fabio. I think it's from Rome. It said it's based in Rome. Doesn't say whether he was born there or not. Okay, really cool. So we've done enough of perusing when it comes to the guidebook and the box. It comes with this ribbon, so I'm just going to use it to lift the tarot deck. And as I said, now this is really interesting. I have to say there is an additional piece of cardboard here that feels like it's been put here on purpose in order for the deck not to move around during shipping. I wonder if this might be a solution which can be considered by tarot and oracle deck creators, because if it really feels like there's nothing special about how sturdy this cardboard is. However, indeed the deck did not move around, otherwise we would have had tears here. It could be something to keep into consideration if you're a deck creator. Perhaps you might want to do some research into that. Now let me see, generally speaking these ones are still wrapped and they come with a line in between that I can lift to open the wrap, but it does not in this case, so I'm going to have to use the kata, and I'm going to be extremely careful about not ruining the cards. Although I have to say this has been used so much that the blade might be blunt at this point. I'm not gonna be replacing it anytime soon though, because I'm simply terrified. When I was little, and I know that you can't really see this here, but I have a big scar because when I was like, I don't know, 10 years old, I was playing around with a kata like this, and obviously that tells you a lot about the level of safety I was not exposed to. But then again, it was mid to late 80s, so it was a different time, and I just went through and through. So I went through and through with the blade of this. It was just, I think the shock was more than the pain, to be honest with you. I was really like, oh, well, I did not expect that to happen. Oh, I should probably cry now. That was it. I know that it sounds gruesome, but it was actually really funny to see the blade going through and through. I was like, it goes through and through. Well, look at that. Okay, going back to the deck. It feels very papery. Very papery, very thin, which is not, I wouldn't say that it's a bad sign, but I don't want to say that it's a good sign, because I don't feel like this is I don't know if this feels like a sturdy deck or not. The first impression is that it doesn't feel sturdy, but in any case, these are the backs. I really like the arabesques on the backs. Let me just do this, and then we need to zoom in because otherwise we won't be able to see the cards, of course, and that's all we want to see. But I have to say, I was really like, oh my god, this is thin. It feels very thin. It feels very papery. I like the noise. Absolutely stoked about the auditory experience. You guys know me. Everything that can be perceived by my senses is welcome. And so that is obviously part of the experience and my own way of bonding with the deck. So the noise, fantastic. The tactile feel when I do like that, I like it. It's a very smooth kind of papery feel to the cards. However, I have to say it feels like it's not being coated, and it feels like it's very thin, very cardboardy, and almost as if I could literally bend the cards. So this is not a 10 out of 10 when it comes to the cardstock. Is that a deal breaker for me? Absolutely not. Does that correspond to some improvement in cost cutting or being eco-friendly? Then it will be welcome. However, I don't necessarily see any announcement in regards to that. But let's go ahead. So obviously I also like this image on the front, and the back is the similar one to the others. And so we start with, obviously, with the major arcanas, and as I said, they have been renamed. I am already loving the fact that the images go beyond the borders on the cards. You guys will know that is something that I always really like when that happens, when I see that happening. These are the wave, obviously the symbols or the sigils that we find, that we talked about earlier, because we've seen that at the back of the guidebook. Papa Legba, of course, as the Hierophant. I will definitely feel like I can recognize some of these, and others will be more difficult for me to ring a bell, but I'm very happy to be able to relate already to some of the cards. And I have to say, the artwork is stunning, stunning, absolutely stunning. Wow. Madame Brigitte. Really, really stunning. I actually wore the Madame Brigitte costume for Halloween a few years ago. So it is a very interesting way to use the real estate of the card. As I said, you do have borders here. They are white and they are very rounded, which is not necessarily something that I like. But on the other hand, you hardly ever see them because the image does tend to go beyond those white borders, and I really, really appreciate that. The death card, really beautiful. There's a lot of names that I recognize, a lot of names that I don't recognize, and as I said, I'm really happy about that because it means that I can spend time studying this deck, and it would definitely enrich my knowledge, which is all I'm here for. Really beautiful star card, the moon, and the sun, and the Baram Sandi, of course, for the judgment card. The world card is really beautiful, really beautiful. A bit scary, but really beautiful. And then we start with the Suit of Cups. Let me just pick it up. Really, really saturated blues, which is probably one of my favorite. So you do have the number on the top and the suit name on the bottom. I have to say though, it feels like, okay, I can read the expressions on the faces of the characters depicted in the images, but I'm not entirely sure that this feels like a fully illustrated deck, in the sense that it feels more like the number of people representing a number on the card, but I could be wrong. But we do have 3 here, which is normal because it is the 3 of Cups. We got 4 here, which is not traditional because generally speaking you will only have 1 character and then 4 cups. But then we have 1 character in the 5 of Cups, and I do feel this sense of loss in the 5 of Cups. I will obviously have to refer back to the guidebook because the 6 of Cups or the 7 of Cups, for example. They don't immediately ring a bell. But as I said, this is actually a good thing, because for me this means that I will really like to spend time reading the book. 9 of Cups and the 10. Okay, and so we look now at the court cards, and as I said, they have been renamed. So we got the doll instead of the page. We got the mambo instead of the... let me just double check. So this looks like it is the knight, and the ongan feels like it's more like a king, and then the horse feels like it's more like a queen. But then again, please understand, this is a first impression, so I'm not double checking. I will do that later on, so I could be wrong. The 2 of Cups and the 3 of Cups and the 4, sorry, not cups, coins, and the 5, the 6. I remember being in Senegal, and the colors of the clothes of women dresses is just freaking amazing. There's just a really beautiful contrast between the patterns and the colors as well. 8 of coins, 9 of coins, 10. And then we go again through the same. So we get the doll, the mambo, the ongan, and the horse. And then we start with the suit of fire, which is wands, 2 of wands. That's really nice. I like it. I like the perspective as well. I don't know if it makes sense, and I don't know if you can tell through the lens, but many of these cards feel like it's almost as if they were a camera that has been positioned slightly higher than the line of sight to the character's eyes. I hope it makes sense, but it feels like we're looking at them as if we were slightly tilting our heads down. And so that gives us on the one hand, it gives us a detached kind of perspective, but on the other hand, it's also very interesting because these characters this way feel like they are 3D rather than flat on the image. And the way in which they, as I said, go beyond the white borders even more so makes you feel like you're looking at characters emerging from the cards themselves. So I actually really appreciate that. It is a very beautiful deck. There's no two ways around that. I can't help but feel that I will definitely be able to decide whether it works for me or not once I'll be able to study the deck itself. Because on the one hand, the Santa Muerte is stunning, and it feels like it's more beautiful than this deck. However, this one feels like it has more intention and culture and references behind it, and I hope it makes sense. Wow, okay, very strong, powerful card here. And so it is something that I will have to check out for myself, of course. And these are the core cards in the suit of swords. And that's it. And then we have one card at the end. I really like this kind of doodling with the back, with the black background. So this was the, so it's literally called the Voodoo Tarot Spirit Box. Now, I don't know whether they will also make a smaller edition, as in a smaller box. The tarot will be the same size, but perhaps in the future, in the next few months, they will also come out with a smaller box. I have no idea. I'm quite happy that I got this one, and to be honest with you, because I ordered it from Italy, it was a very decent price, and I'm quite happy with it. I'm seeing right now on Amazon, as I said earlier, decks positioned, mass market decks positioned, new ones positioned as the high 70s or low 80s, which I believe is way too much. I believe for this one I actually paid 25 euros. It was on sale, or not on sale, sorry. There was a discount voucher or a discount code that I used, so I only paid 25 euros, which is about I would say 38-40 Australian dollars, which is an excellent price for this because, as I said, it is a big box and it does have a big book. So I'm really happy about the product value of this deck. What do I think about the cardstock? As I said initially, I'm convinced now even more. I would have probably preferred to have at least a semi-gloss finish or at least a top coat. This feels like I can actually damage it quite easily. I'm not gonna try and damage it, of course not, and I could be wrong. But that is the feel to the cards. I am a little bit disappointed about the cardstock. But then again, if this is a conscious choice in order to, for example, make the deck more affordable or make it more eco-friendly, I am absolutely for it. I just don't know because I haven't necessarily seen anything related to that. But now, let me say, I'm even more excited because we're going to have a look at the Yokai Tarot, the deck of Japanese lore by Marga Biazzi and Paola Bertazzo, who coincidentally is also the same editor as the Voodoo Tarot Spirit Box. So let me just open this deck up. And as always, my fear will be that the box, because as it often happens with these kind of boxes from Los Carabel, it's a bit of a hit and miss in the sense that sometimes they're too tight and sometimes they're too loose. So when they're too tight, you spend a lot of energy in trying to open them. But on the other hand, when they're too loose, you risk actually having, oh, this is perfect. Oh, thank goodness. Sorry, I was just trying to see, but this is actually, it feels like it is on the looser side, on the loose side, not loser, sorry. But at the same time, it doesn't feel like it is going to be a problem to lift it up by the top. It doesn't feel like it's gonna open up and make all of the cards fall out the deck. In any case, this one, okay, so we see here yokai. So what are yokai? Yokais are supernatural beings that belong to the Japanese lore. Many of them are super ancient. Some of them come from the Chinese lore as well. Some of them even from Indian lore. My knowledge of yokai comes from many years of passion for Japan and its culture, of reading every single book that I could find about Japan and Japanese folklore, of 4 years now of learning and studying and learning the language together with the culture, of absolutely adoring Japanese food and having been to Japan 4 times. And having been in any sort of different situation, obviously Japan is so big with so many islands that of course I did not visit everything that I want to, but I have visited a lot. And I have been able to speak to a lot of people about local folklore, and I absolutely adore it. I think it's one of the most interesting folklore on the planet. And it's also true that in Italy we do have a passion for Japan because we have a lot of Japanese authors that have been translated into Italian before they were even translated into English. So I was actually reading Banana Yoshimoto as soon as she actually published books in Japanese. There was one publisher, Feltrinelli, in Italy that was immediately coming out with Italian translations of Banana Yoshimoto's Japanese books. But I was also really into Murakami as soon as I could. And I have to say that now that I'm in Australia, I also take advantage of the fact that we have Kinokuniya here in Sydney, which is a Japanese chain of bookstores. And of course, they have more books by Japanese authors that have been translated into English. And I also can read, although I'm losing my practice, but I was able to read simplified kanjis. So sometimes I was even buying really simple books in Japanese written in simplified kanjis. So I've obviously had my own very personal approach to this kind of culture, and I absolutely love it. I have also been studying the Yokai Tarot by Bybee, which is an indie deck, which is unfortunately now out of print. but I had the opportunity to study that with my members, and it was absolutely fantastic to be able to do so. This is the new one. I have now 6 decks that are centered on Japanese folklore. Not all of them are called Yokai Tarot, but many of them are. And I know already that I will definitely do a side-by-side comparison between all of my yokai based decks, but that video is not going to be this one because we don't have enough time. Today is, as I literally said, just an unboxing. So we see 4 yokais, we see a kitsune. There's 2 different ones on the front and the back here, and there's 2 similar. Okay, so this is the same one, it's just that it's upside down on the sides. When I open the box, we see okay, we see another 2 front and back, but again the same one on the sides, which is absolutely fine. And then we have a look at what's inside. So let's see, we've got the guidebook, of course, and let's just have a quick look. So it doesn't look like it's got the thumbprint of the images, which is absolutely fine because we got the cards, and this means that we probably have a little bit more room when it comes to talking about the cards themselves. Now, what I wanted to see is whether they talk about the specific yokais. There you go. So, for example, the sun is Amaterasu. Amaterasu means heaven's light. So, it was the goddess of the sun. Extremely beautiful, but she's been the legend says that the sun disappeared, and obviously humans need the sun, life needs the sun, and so in order to get Amaterasu to get out of her hiding spot, they had to trick her. So that's what I know about the legend. It talks about the legend a bit more. According to legend, her descendant became the first emperor of Japan, found in a lineage that persists to this day. The bright rays of Amaterasu warm every corner of the world and bring all secrets to the light of day. It is a time for honesty, growth and celebration. Invest new energies with enthusiasm, bask in the light of the day, but never stop and stare directly at it, because the sun blinds those who face it with arrogance. Okay, so it is very interesting because it does connect the specific yokai to the meaning of the tarot card, at least for what we've just seen. And this is first impression. I have no idea if the other cards will do the same or not. It would be very interesting to see, and that would be something that I would definitely go deeper in when I'm going to do the side by side. But I'm pleased to say that there's also when it comes to the minors, we'll see the same. So this is the Tanokami, literally god of the rice paddies. It's the spirit that watches over the harvest. And this is the 7 of coins. So absolutely really happy to see that they give you the spelling in Romaji, so you can actually read it, Tsuchikumo, and then they give you the spelling in kanjis. Really happy about this. Okay, and also, of course, it comes in different languages as well, but for what I can see here, there is a bit less of a description for the other languages as well. So they do give a preference to the English language, which makes me happy. We got 52 pages here for the English language, and then we got the Italian, and then we have got Spanish, and let me see, still Spanish, Portuguese, and no French. I expected to see French as well, but that's okay. So English, Italian, Spanish and Portuguese. It's always very interesting to see, just in case English is not your first language and you prefer to read the deck or the guidebook in your own language or in another language that you can speak. Again, let me just open this one, and again, it's not the one that comes with a line in the middle that you can just simply pull and it would just cut through the wraparound, but it's fine because we can still open this one by being very careful not to ruin the cards. And I have to say, the first feeling is the same that I got when opening the spirit box or the Voodoo Tarot. of very thin paper cardboardy cardstock, but I don't know. Okay, so these are the two intro cards. Can I just say something? It feels like this one is slightly thicker than this one, but not by much. It feels like this one is very easy to bend and damage, and this one is definitely more sturdy. So I'm 100% on board with this cardstock. I'm really worried about ruining this cardstock, especially if I would try and riffle and bridge shuffle. I'm really worried about the cards bending. This one feels like it can definitely be riffled and bridge shuffled without any kind of issues. So introductory card, and then we go through. These are the backs, by the way, not as beautiful as the spirit box, but still quite beautiful, because it feels like it's almost as if it were a wink to the RWS and the back of some of the classic RWS decks. We always start with the kappa when it's the full. Most of the time the full is either a tanuki or a kappa, but again, I'm not going to spend, and as a tanuki, I'm not going to spend too much time in recognizing the yokais, even though I'm really tempted to do so, because as I said, I really want to take my time to bond with the deck, and then I promise that I will post a video in which there will be a side-by-side comparison, and that will be the one to look for if you're waiting for a side-by-side comparison, where I will definitely talk about the yokais that we can see on the cards. For now, I'm looking at the cards. Of course, the moon is always the rabbit on the moon. The sun, that's Amaterasu that we saw earlier, of course, that's beautiful. The Judgment, the World card, which is a koi, which is incredibly expensive, although this is a yokai version of a koi. Then the Suto Cup, so this is fully illustrated, as we expected, because I don't know if you have the same impression, and the cup again, but sometimes it feels like Lo Scarabeo decks, they kind of make I don't know, like a little bit more of an effort in making sure that all of the minors are fully illustrated or fully scenic. I don't know if you feel the same, but I personally cannot recall of a Lo Scarabeo deck, unless it's a Marseille based deck. Well, in that case, obviously it would be Pipish, but I do not recall of a RWS deck that is actually not fully illustrated or fully scenic. I could be wrong, of course, and but I know as a fact that I don't, if there is one, I don't have it in my collection. 9 of coins, 10 of coins with the kitsune. It's really beautiful. I'm loving this. I recognize a lot of these yokais, not all of them, of course, because there's hundreds. But I also think about many of them. Are they the right choice for the cards? This is, of course, the wedding of the kitsune. For the Four of Wands, I believe that I do have other decks that show exactly the same. The wedding, you know, of the kitsune for the Four of Wands, obviously, is kind of a, you know, straight choice. I do believe that it's very beautiful. I really like it, but of course, let me just double check the Suit of Swords, because I'm always interested, you know. Okay, we still have the pierced heart, which is fine. It feels like it reminds me a lot of the Yokai Yochi, the indie deck that I talked about before. It does have more colors, but it is a muted color palette. It's not as colorful, for example, as the Yokai Tarot that was released last year, for example, or the Yokai Tarot that was released by the Vecchi as well, or, you know, the Oracle de Camilla Yokai, which is a French oracle deck. And again, I have so many, but I will make sure to show you all of them. Sorry, let me just go back, because I wanted to have a look at the 7 and I just missed it. So yeah, okay, fair enough. So as you can see, it's very RWS based. So obviously, even if you don't have any knowledge of the yokai world, it doesn't mean that you won't be able to read it. if you have knowledge of the RWS, it will be easy to read it. Okay, I have to say, yes, the cardstock feels more sturdy than the other deck that I've showed you today. And just to double check, because I could be hallucinating, and I just want to double check whether that is the case or not in seeing if this one is thicker, and it is. Okay, let me just double check also on this section, because I don't want to say anything wrong, but it does look, it clearly is. I don't know if you can tell. This much here is thicker on the yokai than the spirit box. And so it makes me believe, so this many cards, so this much of a thickness is thicker, this deck, than this one. So obviously having the same amount of cards, with also the introduction cards, etc., it makes me conclude that this cardstock is slightly thicker than this one, and it makes me conclude that this one doesn't give me any issues at all. I am not scared about ruining this deck or bending the cards when it comes to this one. However, I have to say that I will be very careful and probably not even attempt to bridge and reshuffle, because I don't want to ruin the deck, or I want to ruin the cards, of course. So that was it for today, and I am very curious to know whether you are also anticipating these two decks. What do you think about them? Obviously, there's a lot of Yokai Tarot decks out there. It doesn't mean that I will stop checking them out, but it also doesn't mean that I will stick to this one or that this one is my favorite. This is just the impressions of opening the box and showing the cards to you for the first time, and having this experience and sharing it with you. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.